Against all odds, the first wave of survivors reached their sanctuary. The foggy forest provided shelter and food for the young pterosaurs, and for the next 5 years, this would be their home. Once strong enough, they would join the adult pterosaurs to hunt fish across the open ocean. While in the oceans beneath the same skies, another prehistoric giant was raising its offspring in a completely different manner. Among them were the massive elasmosaurs, marine reptiles nearly 9 meters long. This female elasmosaur was accompanied by her 6-month-old calf. She could only give birth once every 2 years, making the bond between mother and offspring incredibly strong. She had swum a great distance to reach this bay, for it offered something other bays couldn't: smooth, rounded pebbles. They swallowed these stones to use as ballast and gastroliths, keeping them in their stomachs to grind up unchewed food. For the young elasmosaur, swallowing pebbles for the first time was no easy task, and this period also became the mother's best opportunity to find a mate. After repeated attempts, the baby elasmosaur finally succeeded. Once they had swallowed as many pebbles as possible, the family left the shore. In southern Europe, where the Atlantic Ocean met the Great Tethys Sea, coastal biodiversity reached its peak. The area teemed with sponges, clams, and corals. The corals took full advantage of the shallow water sunlight, cooperating with algae growing within their tissues. They collected food particles drifting in the currents, and countless marine creatures covered the hard rocks. Yet one rock stood out, completely bare. Beyond it lay steep cliffs and deep waters, home to ocean predators and a dangerous place for reef fish. But one bold fish, the dictyopage, swam straight into a giant gaping mouth. This was the Hoffman's mosasaur, the deadliest predator in the ocean. But today it wasn't here to eat, it was here to molt. The mosasaur, a giant lizard, had a forked tongue and colorful scaly skin like other lizards. Now was the time to shed its old skin, and when it wanted to look refreshed, these small fish and shrimp proved useful. They pecked away at its loose scales, providing a sensation like a massage. The mosasaur surfaced, leisurely enjoying its relaxing moment, until it was attacked. A younger mosasaur had come to challenge its territory. Though the older mosasaur weighed over 15 tons and was larger, its rival was more agile. When equally matched, the battle would be fierce. The older male mosasaur quickly surfaced for air, now gaining the upper hand. All it had to do was drag its opponent into the deep to drown it. In the end, the older male mosasaur emerged victorious, successfully defending its domain. As night fell, an unprecedented light show began. Glowing ammonites slowly rose from the ocean depths. Ammonites were mollusks, related to octopuses and squid. These ammonites were no larger than a human palm. For weeks they had gathered in the deep coastal waters, using their lights to attract plankton as food. But tonight the lights served a different purpose. They had been drawn to the surface to reproduce. Soon thousands of ammonites in each cluster touched one another, creating waves of bioluminescence. Ammonites had complex nervous systems controlling their light-producing cells, called photocytes. Male ammonites jostled around larger females, letting them determine the most suitable mate. When pairs intertwined, they performed synchronized light displays. If a male couldn't match the female's rhythm, his courtship would be rejected. But some pairs achieved perfect harmony. After success, the female ammonite would move to shallow waters to spawn. Like most cephalopods, reproduction marked the final chapter of their short lives. By morning, the lights dimmed and faded. This magical night would be their last. Back in the shallow seas of Zealandia, large groups of elasmosaurs gathered. Propelled by their flippers, they moved almost effortlessly, finding schools of fish that gathered here in summer. They occasionally surfaced to take deep breaths before diving again. But one female elasmosaur wasn't swimming as gracefully as usual. She and her 2-year-old calf lagged behind the group, struggling to keep up. Just then, a deadly hunter appeared, the Hoffman's mosasaur. The unwell female elasmosaur was a tempting target. Diving deeper might give her a chance to survive. Meanwhile, her calf tried to distract the mosasaur, an incredibly dangerous move, but one meant to buy time for its mother. They weren't entirely alone, however. These elasmosaurs might have been related by blood, as they swiftly surrounded the mosasaur and drove it away, successfully protecting the mother. The reason for her pain? She was pregnant. After a 1.5 years of pregnancy, the baby elasmosaur was finally born. Measuring over 3 meters long, nearly half the mother's length, it might have been one of the largest newborns in history. Now it needed to swim to the surface for its first breath. This young elasmosaur could live up to 80 years, and with its family's support, it would grow into the next great predator. Leaving the ocean, we now arrive in a scorching desert where giant dinosaurs battle for mates. On this ancient planet from 66 million years ago, what incredible stories will they bring? Follow me as we continue exploring the prehistoric world.